Okay, so I've been asked before, what my beliefs are on certain things. Religious, spiritual matters, alternative belief matters, things like magic. I'm not an atheist or a theist. I'm just here having a conscious experience. But I definitely think that I've read a lot of Jung growing up, a decent amount of Jung. Hold on, the fire engine's coming in here. Anyway, I've read a decent amount of Jung growing up, and other psychologists, but I'd fancy myself more of a Jungian. I like the colorful way that he does things, with archetypes and that. And somebody asked me, how could you believe in things like, some of the stuff that I stand up for? Well, I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of religion. First and foremost, I think humans are colorful. We express ourselves in a number of colorful ways. But, somebody's like, well, give me an example of, something that's, you could frame in a logical, rational framework that, let's say, is magical. Now, you could call it magical practice, but the only magic I've ever done, if you want to call it that, is called white magic. Non-baneful. Wouldn't curse or hex someone. It's not how I am as an individual. Somebody might say, "Hey Tim, what's your experience with white magic then?" I think it's a psychological thing, a tool one can use to build up a neural network associated with whatever your intent is, with whatever you're doing. So yesterday I came up with one called the Decay of Woe ritual. Very simple. Let's say you get in a fight with someone, a lover, a friend. Get a baguette. You break the heel off. You take the heel in your hand. You focus your intention, your mind on it. You pour you set an intent to, as the bread decays, so will your woe go away. You take the bread out and you set it down someplace outside, on your property preferably, so you're not, putting it someplace where someone else has to see it. Unless, it's some place it's not going to really bother someone, if that makes sense. Anyway, and be conscious and aware of the whole surrounding around the bread. 20 by 20, 30 by 30 foot span, up, down, the ground, everything. As that bread slowly decays, it gets moldy. Squirrels, maybe birds come in and eat some of it, maybe bugs do. You check on the bread every day. Every day you check on that bread, it gives you something to remember that argument by. With your friend or your lover, your whatever. And that makes you realize, makes you aware of that friendship, the value, the meaning in that. And as that bread slowly decays, you think, wow, it's been a day or 2 days or 3 days and it's almost, completely gone, or it's been a week, it's almost completely gone. And just by having that psychological primer of the bread, it allows you to sit there and think about stuff, deal with stuff in a positive manner. And you also are taking note, as the bread slowly decays, of the surroundings around the bread. What wildlife is coming there? What are you seeing? You're seeing the woe be carried away. New life is coming in. Squirrels, insects, birds. The mold even is life. It's a living thing. It's something new coming out of the decay, feeding on the decay. As like old thoughts fade away, new thoughts tend to feed on old thoughts, if you think about it. Those new thoughts learn from the old thoughts. It's like mushrooms coming up out of the ground. Those old thoughts are underneath the earth and in the darkness. The new thoughts are coming into light as the mushroom grows towards the sun and the moon is, opening. And that old thing is fading away. And then by the end of the decay of the woe, the decay of the bread, the heel of the bread, you've had enough time to think things through. The bread, watching it slowly fade away, gave you a psychological primer in your mind to remember the friendship, the vows of friendship, the actions involved in friendship, the thoughts, the emotions, the psychology. And that made you they gave you something to remember rather than just shoving it deep down inside, letting it turn bitter and sour and letting it come out in some negative manner. those new thoughts arising from the decay make you conscious and aware of friendship, fidelity with, friends and loved ones. Being a good friend, a good lover, a good spouse, a good trustworthy, is just living being to another, has value. And seeing that bread decay, by the end of the time the bread's decayed and gone away, you sit there and look at the rest of the surroundings, the 30 by 30 foot area around the bread, or the 20 by 20 foot area around the bread, whatever it is, and you see all the beauty that's there, and you realize how small your little argument really was, and it's already passed, it's already decayed and gone away. So I think that's one way that's logical and rational, that is very good, very positive, the outcome, that somebody could use something like white magic, or a positive psychological, application. That's, one thing that can help deal with issues in a positive light. That's not, I don't make fun of people for, again, I promote freedom of speech, freedom of religion. I don't make fun of people that are, doing more darker stuff, but I don't feel like I have it's not my moral character, to try to curse or hex or harm someone. I feel like I can work my issues out without having to do those things. I feel like that would be kind of putting a third wheel in there, like having to go to someone or dealing it yourself, or like calling on something. Like it would just be like more trouble for you, rather than kind of doing the simple thing. But again, I don't judge. I'm just whenever I talk about certain things, people ask me if I've done baneful stuff, and it's just not my nature. I'm not baneful by nature. I'm not perfect, I'm imperfect, but I'm not, it's not my thing. So anyway, that's my foray, another foray into that. I wrote this the other day, the Decay of Woe ritual. Somebody might, do it in another way with a different correspondence. The bread's the correspondence, though. But I think things like that create karmic ripples. Karma isn't, you ever heard in the Western philosophical, the kind of like westernized Buddhist version where people say karma's a bitch, and forgive my language. Have you ever heard somebody say that? I don't like calling anybody a bitch, but you get what I'm saying. That's how I used to hear when I was younger. Somebody say, oh, karma's a bitch, man. And that's not what karma is. Karma is a beautiful thing. It's like you have this introspection about yourself, and you're aware of your bad actions, and you think about those things, then you integrate the good from certain things, learn from that, and then kind of, pass that good on, and kind of keep the negative nature you've learned from it, then it decays. And those good things, are ripples, and that's kind of what karma is. It's this ripple, this cause and effect. You have the pebble in your hand, you throw it in the water, it hits the water, and the ripples, the cause of the ripples are from someone throwing something in, the effect of something being thrown in. So it's, make sure your ripples, are going out with, positive vibrations, positive energies, positive thoughts, right mind kind of stuff. And then those ripples hit other things and ripple off again, so I think that's a good way. That's a very, healthy, positive, logical, rational way to utilize a magical thing within your life, that even modern science would back up and say is valid. You can go on like Psychology Today and find similar exercises, but they're not framed in that magical context. They're framed in a more, different light. Probably because some people think when they say magic that it means something that's not. Most people, if you say somebody was doing magic, they're thinking of some black cat and some demonic cauldron, and people offering up their firstborn to like the tribe of elf, Haim or something. I don't know. But I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but some of the looks people give you, they don't get what you're talking about. So that's the purpose of kind of explaining something. It's not, what it seems. It's actually fairly simple, and you think of people like Carl Jung, learned a lot from alchemy. And that what he learned from alchemy has been, proven, his field of psychology, and that's, has brought a lot of depth to people's lives and enriched a lot of people's lives. So anyway, I just want to say that. So that's the Decay of Woe ritual. Again, it's very straightforward and easy. I'm not condoning or trying to preach to anyone or condone anything. I'm not an atheist or a theist. I'm just here having a conscious experience on planet Earth and just sharing a few things that I've learned from my own choices with you lovely people, and that's it. Anyway.